Gator Magraw. Ow. Get out of me.
Get out of the spotlight of me.
Gator Magraw. Pro wrestling. Keynote speaking. Motivational speaking. Coach. Mike Kinney. What is up, my friend?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, thanks for responding and deciding to join me, because I just know that sometimes there's people that are on so many similar wavelengths to you. You can't just exist and not coexist a little bit sometimes, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So I just figured we just poke into each other's lives and co-create and have some fun
I love it.
and become some friends.
Because who doesn't need more friends, you know?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the difference between a friend who you're chatting with on a podcast versus like the people you just like accept their friendship and you don't know them. You know what I mean? And you say happy birthday when Facebook tells you to tell them happy birthday, but you don't actually care. You know, and it's very transactional. It's very phony. And you know, I've been in the wrestling business too long, and things are already so phony and transactional. I don't need another layer of phony and transactional.
Yeah, no, this is great. I as soon as I saw that there was an opportunity to be on your show, I was like, heck yeah, let's do this. So again, I'm just glad to be here.
So I know we were talking before we got on mic, but we were talking about like where you came from and where you were trained and things like that, and the era it was when you entered yourself into the pro wrestling business, and you said that was in the late '90s.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
That was the time, man. That was the time to get in. Like that. I don't jump into it very often and tell them the whole story because I don't want to have to like include people's names because I'm ashamed. But I also saw the late '90s was when I was like, yeah, that's the thing I'm absolutely going to do with the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. Because the Attitude Era was so cool, and it was so like the place to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I took my first back bump in a ring in 1998. It was the summer before ninth grade. So I was 14 years old. I took my first back bump, and I don't think I've gone longer than 13 months in that whole span since 1998 of being away from taking back bumps.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long run, my friend.
Yes. My bump card is overfull. Bump card is way overfull.
Yeah. Yep.
But sometimes when you're like, let's say, like I'll do seminars and I'll do coaching sometimes. Sometimes the best way to show somebody how to do something is by doing it.
True. Yeah, I have a couple of buddies that train like that too, and bless their hearts, they do an excellent job at it. But that's how they do it. And you know, I've gone to a few different camps and things like that where there's some instructors that are 100% hands-on and will walk you through every little thing. And I've also, experienced some people who were incredibly late in their careers that wanted to give you some feedback, but won't necessarily get in the ring with you. Mm-hmm. So, but there's, valuable lessons that can be taught on both sides. But for me specifically, it was always good to have somebody in there working with me to help me with, because you're like learning, you think about collar and elbow tie up and where your feet placement what your feet placement looks like and all that kind of stuff. How to keep your feet still and not make so much noise by having choppy feet, and all those little things were helpful for me to have somebody in there reminding me, like, slow down, like all those typical things that you would hear. But when you're nervous and you're that young, it's you just fly, man. And it's nice to have somebody in there with you that can slow you down and show you the tempo.
It is so funny that you talk about the feet. The feet, the footwork is so important to not have happy feet and be stepping all over yourself. When I'm teaching or when I'm coaching, I'll be like, I don't need to hear all that banging on the floorboards. Like,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. Like,
Yeah.
you got to be efficient with your motion, economy of motions.
I could very specifically remember after I started working when I fully kind of like was fully into a normal ring timing cadence. So if you're a wrestler, you understand what I'm saying. Like, you kind of like all of a sudden you just like feel it. You're like, oh, that's what this is supposed to feel like. And I remember I had a guy in a headlock and we were just going to do like a tackle drop down spot or something. But I had him in the headlock and all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's where my feet go. Oh, that I don't have to move them at all. Oh, this is what they mean by slow down. It was just like all in one moment, and it just like clicked for me.
And Mike, in our time, since our time has gone by, they don't call it a tackle drop down spot anymore.
Really?
They don't call it a tackle drop down.
What is it called now?
It's called a universal now.
Oh, a universal. So is that tackle drop down, hip toss, headlock takeover, right?
No, it'll be tackle drop down, hip toss, arm drag. Sometimes a leapfrog in there. So tackle drop down, leapfrog, hip toss, arm drag.
Interesting.
And that would also sometimes be called an international. It'll be called either a universal or an international. But you and we would call it a tackle drop down spot.
Yep. Tackle drop down, get the head, do it again.
Right. We would say one tackle.
You're right. Yeah.
Some reason they decided that saying one tackle was important. I remember hearing that and I'd be like, when's the second one? Like,
right.
because one of my coaches was John Dahmer.
Oh yeah. John? Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He would make you do two drop down. He would make you do two tackles. So he would say two tackles, hip toss, arm drag. So it would be like, and whenever I do coaching, I always do like, take the tackle, don't bump. Take the tackle, like, so it would be like, go, hit, go, hit, go, hit. So it's like you're practicing the movements of
right.
where your positioning is in the ring, instead of just like flailing all over the place and winding up wherever you wind up. Sure. It's like, this will be where we are every single time we're meeting each other. So you're not coming up and meeting me. You're going, whoop, the timing is right there. As soon as the whip off, the head, boom. Like, so it would just be a way to ensure that they knew the idea. And then I would say, after they did it one round of not bumping each time, then they do it a second round of bumping each time. And then we do the bump each time, drop down. Bump each time, drop down. Bump each time, drop down. So it would be like just me building it and then starting to build what the international would look like. But, I mean, we didn't call it international back then, but...
No, you're aging me. I feel... learning old dog's new tricks. Look at that.
Hey, I mean, we're the same era. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I just happen to be a little bit younger, but not. I mean, I'm still the old guy. Yeah. I'm the old guy in any locker room I'm in, but not that I look old or anyone treats me like I'm old. I'm just old because I know I've been there for 25 years.
Sure. Yep. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny too because I was a CZW fanboy, man. Like I watched late '90s CZW, and that's CZW while ECW is still alive, and so And
I
nobody
remember.
really, yeah, I mean, that's crazy, right? And so those early shows, I remember those pretty well. And then the early 2000s, after everything moved over to the arenas, yeah, that's kind of my sweet spot when I go back and watch CZW.
That building in Mantua, what they were running back the early like 1998.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 99, when they first started that first building. That was the school. That was my wrestling school when
Oh,
I started.
cool.
Was that building that they were running shows at?
Okay.
So, yes, that aged me somewhat to mention that. Yes, but that old school fanboy CZW, when it wasn't even on TV yet. It wasn't
Right.
even. It was a funny thing. It was like I didn't jump into CZW because I thought I was going to get something out of it. I didn't think like, oh, this is a big thing, and I'm jumping on the bandwagon. It wasn't even a thing yet
Right.
when, when I came
Because
on board.
CZW really didn't get like on the map until on F Unbelievable. And once that happened, then everybody knew about CZW and it completely changed the game.
If you watch that tape of Uneffin' Believable, I was standing in the back on top of the firemen's lockers. I was standing in the back. I was 17 or 16, 17, a trainee at the school. I would
Yeah.
I think the old they had when the CZW Fake UTV had started. There was the intro to the show. They showed like people carrying weapons into the building for Uneffin' Believable. One of those people carrying a weapon was me.
There
It
you
was like a
go.
barbed wire table or something. I was carrying it
Okay.
into the building. Yeah. So
Yeah, that show, funny.
I also was a huge mark for CZW when I was a kid. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I remember when I think it was Feinstein. No, I had to have been Smart Mark video back then. Well, somebody put out the immediate release of On F Unbelievable, and I was living in southern Minnesota, kind of a rural area at that time, and I had ordered the DVD, or maybe it was even VHS, but let's say it was the DVD, so I don't feel so old. And I lived with a couple other indie guys at that time, and we like made a whole night of it where we were just like we were always doing that where we would get tapes of different stuff from wherever, and we would sit together and just pretty much like hang out and watch it. It was like a pro wrestling fraternity. It was awesome. But we watched that show, and I told you before we started that I got like a Philly connection out of this. There was a moment in time where this group of us, and there was like 6 of us, all from the same area, all ended up working the indie scene. We all had this. The 6 of us ended up making. Since there were so many of us, we were booked everywhere in Minnesota back then, and we were heavily influencing the way the Minnesota independent scene was being executed. And the town we were all from is Albert Lee, Minnesota, so we were being called the Albert Lee office. But that group of guys, the Albert Lee office, we were heavily considering packing up and moving out to Philadelphia and going to a school there and just continuing training and trying to get that East Coast style down, because the Midwest style back then, and you probably remember this too, pro wrestling, the styles were very regional. And so like the style that we learned in Minnesota was like, it was like the watered down version of what Vern Gagne did, because Vern trained a guy who trained a guy who trained us, you know what I mean? So, but the East Coast stuff was much different, and it was very possible that we were going to all just move together and do that, but we just didn't. And the 6 of us have talked about it before, like what would have happened if we would have done that, and tried to treat the independent scene back then like the territory days. I don't know. Nobody ever did that.
it's missing. Like, I think that, and something I noticed about spending so much time around wrestling is that like if you watch now and watch like old 90s wrestling, and you're like, okay, these were wrestlers playing characters that the booker wanted them to play. Now it's people playing wrestlers. It's
Yeah.
people like cosplaying and doing what they think wrestling should look like, and not doing what wrestling actually looks like. It's like it. You can, and maybe it's just my trained eye. Like when I see it, I'm like, they're doing what somebody else told them to do. It doesn't appear like it's a combat instinct to do the
Yeah.
next thing.
You're right.
And to be like trained as an actor, they say like you want to make all your dialogue sound like it's spontaneously coming out of you and not like something you memorized off of a sheet. It's very similar to like you're doing your moves because you're thinking to do it at that very moment, not like we discussed this before. I'm gonna grab the head. You know what I mean? It's like a weird, like it's too choreographed looking. It's like
Which is wild to think about, because I specifically remember this. Like there were guys that, so like one of the guys that was involved in one of my early camps was Eddie Sharkey. Eddie trained the Road Warriors. Eddie trained the who's who of people that came out of Minnesota for a small amount of time, and they were so against doing things like practicing spots beforehand or working any of that stuff out. And it was weird because that era was the transition between what wrestling was and what wrestling was becoming. So I had like one foot in two canoes where I was trying to learn how to call stuff on the fly or just have like 6 bullet points for a match that I want to work toward, make sure we hit the bullet points. As opposed to like, there were also times where like, if I'm watching, and I'll use this as an example. I remember watching Homicide from time to time in Ring of Honor, and he had these like amazing spots he would do. And I'm like, man, his style was like mine in a way. And I knew I could borrow from it, but like, maybe I'm going to write down the spots, and I would write down spots and take them with me to shows and be like, okay, I'm working this guy. Can I fit one of these spots in? And I would try to like fold it in so that I would learn it and it would become that combat instinct over time, because I wasn't working with guys that were very good at doing that. So I was having to watch guys that were on the East Coast and try to like do that. But my point is that when other workers would see me pull out like this little notebook with spots in them, they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? And I was just trying to like, fix my learning curve here, because I felt like I was so far behind. I was trying to catch up. But yeah, it was a weird, and now everybody kind of choreographs stuff, right? And it's all over the map. And I noticed that this last November when I went back for my return match, I wrestled a guy who was part of that Albert Lee office. And so he's been around, he's been in the business we broke in together. So we went old school. We said, here are the 6 bullet points we're going to work toward. Everything else we're going to call on the fly. And he was the heel, and I just listened to him, and he pulled me through it. He'd have to remind me to breathe, right? And all that shit we forget about. But and it went super well, but I watched the locker room. The guys in the locker room were putting everything together top to bottom for the most part.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm as you would say, a foot in both canoes on that, because I, come through both ends of things. Like
Yeah.
I know it this way and I know it that way, and I know that the people of this current generation don't know it the way I knew. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, for sure.
So I have to adapt to them and show them how to. This sounds arrogant. I have to teach them what it feels like to be over.
Sure.
And like what over feels like, and it's been kind of cool to have us get in the back and then someone be like, wow, I've never felt that cool out there before.
Yeah.
Never felt that. You know what I mean? It's like this might be the best match I've ever had. I'm like, well, you're brand new. Of course.
Yeah. But I do remember being that kid, when it felt good, it changed your confidence. It helped you want to take the next booking and get on the road again. And it made you hungrier. It made you want to improve. So I remember that so specific. It's important to the development of some of these guys.
Well, the thing is, when I was coming up, I didn't have veterans tripping over themselves to build my confidence up.
No, I get that. Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I remember, but my peers, I lived with my guys and for a few minutes anyway, and we we would give each other feedback, and we would like as a wrestler, start once you begin getting it, you can feel it, and it changes you. And I do remember that going, okay, that's what this is starting to feel like. This is great, and moving on to the next thing. And yeah, but the old timers, man, they're not going to help you out. They didn't help us out for shit.
When I was training at the CZW school, I remember Trent saying to me, he said, "Hey, I'm thinking about coming down to the school on Tuesday. Can you show me how to blow spots?"
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was
Yep.
like, he would pick on me so much, and then like all this time went by, and he showed up at a show that I was on, and he said, "Hey, I tried to talk to Eddie about getting you and I to have a match together," and he said, I asked for us to work together because like you're the best wrestler here on this roster," and I was like, I thought this guy hated me for
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a decade. So it's funny the way like people will build your confidence up without building your confidence up too much.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to firsthand experience Trent Acid. He and I were both on the Insane Clown Posse's JCW tour when they first launched it back in, this would have been 2007. And so the clowns they had a new album coming out, and they were trying to promote it in all these towns. So they were doing like, in Minneapolis, they came to First Avenue, and then they had the ring set up, and they'd have a match, and then they'd play a few songs and a match and play a few songs. They'd keep going like that. And I knew Corporal Robinson from doing some work in IWA, and when they came to Minneapolis, he called me and said, "You want to come do the shot?" Well, it went really well, and the clowns invited me to just hop on the bus that night and travel with them. So I was on the road with them for 2 weeks, and Trent was one of those guys that was on the bus. So I was with him and Necro Butcher and Too Tough Tony and Corporal Robinson, and Zach Gowan was there, and it was really cool. But Trent was kind of, at that time, we got along very, very well. But Trent was struggling. He was dealing with some stuff, and so it was tough to see him going through that, especially because I just told you I sat and watched CZW in the late '90s. Trent was one of those guys, right? And to see him kind of in that state of disrepair was kind of tough to watch. But
It was strange because like when I first started at the CZW school, I was 15, and I had the similar shaved hair on the sides thing.
Yeah.
And everybody said I looked like I was trying to look like Trent, even though I just look like this. And I happened to look even more like Trent Acid when I was a little boy.
Yeah.
So people thought I was trying to rip him off, and I think he maybe subconsciously heard somebody say something like that, and it maybe got into his head. So like he just wanted to continue to humble me forever.
Yeah, you just got heat right away for no reason.
And my first day at the school, I met Johnny Cashmere, and he said to me, "Who's your favorite wrestler?" And I was like, "Chris Jericho," and he was like, "Oh, I swore you were gonna say Trent Acid," and I was like, "I don't really even know him." I was like, I seen maybe one or two of his matches. I don't really know, but it looked like to him that I was trying to rip off Trent's look, and I wasn't. It just happened to look like this guy.
That's the one thing I did know about the CZW guys, is that they were so territorial. And so if you were trying to get into CZW, you look at like Nick Gage and Nate Hatred, like those two guys, they had a heavy say in the locker room. And I know a lot of guys that got looks from CZW and got to go there, and they'd come back and they'd be like, "Shit, those guys fucking hated me." Like they were just, and I'm like, well, you're new, and they've been there since day one, and they want to make sure that they still have a spot. Like that's what this is.
You were supposed to be afraid of them.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what. Like, if that Godsmack song started playing, you were in for it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I remember, remember one of the Cage of Deaths, the one where they put the two rings out.
Oh yeah.
The one where there were two rings. We did a match early in the card, and it was like a Mavican idol or something. That's what they called it. It was like Maven was scouting or something, and John Zandig came up to us before the match, and he said, "If you f up anything, the hate club's coming out." Like that was like the scare us into not effing anything up.
Oh shit.
So we were expecting that to happen, and honestly, when we did get run in by Nate at one point, or if I had done any spots with Nate in a battle royal or anything, I did like the best of the best battle royal at the arena one year, and Nate was in it, and I was like taking his stuff, and I was like, I'm tough. I got this. It built my confidence in a different way.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes that's what you got to do. You just take your licks and keep moving.
In 2007, I say 2007, 8 era, we were working for Pinky in Reading. Eddie Valentine was booking, and Nate Hatred started teaming with Glenn Osborne, and they were called the War Gods, and we had a tag match with them, me and Rick, and Nate busted a chair right over my head. Like the chair went on my head, like it broke on my head, and he was like, "Never feed me your head." Right after he said, he was very calm about it. He was like, "Never feed me your head. I'm just gonna break the chair over your head." I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's valid. Some of those guys are like that, though. I mean, like we had a guy in Minnesota very much like that. Is Horace the Psychopath. If you gave him an inch, he's going to take a mile, and he's very unapologetic about it. And in some ways, like, I learned a lot from him through all of that. Like what I remember him headbutting the shit out of me in a match one time, man, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And he just kept headbutting me, and I got pissed, and I was like, well, he's going to keep headbutting me until I headbutt him back. And so I just started plowing and just hammering on him with my head, and he stopped. And I hit him so hard when we got done, we got to the locker room, and he was like, I just need a few minutes. Like, and I was all amped up. I'm like 10 years younger, and I'm like, let's fucking go. And what the fuck is wrong with you? And yes.
Etiquette has certainly changed a lot, for sure. Like, if this was 20 years ago, I wouldn't be wearing a headbanger shirt in public. There was no marking out from the boy. Like, you weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't be wearing an ECW shirt right now had you not worked for ECW. If you didn't work for ECW, you couldn't wear an ECW shirt.
So funny thing is, I was just talking about this exact thing with some guys that I used to wrestle with. This exact thing, not even a few days ago. And I was thinking about, there was a time where I had taken Balls and Axel, and I was early on. I was young, and I took them. They needed to run to the grocery store or gas station or whatever before a show, and so I drove them. And on my rearview mirror, and I totally forgot it was even there. It never even dawned on me, but it was a ECW backstage pass lanyard that was kind of hanging there, and I just had it there. And I won it on eBay. I don't even know if it was real. And this is like 2002 or 2003, right in there. And I watched them notice it. Like I can't remember if it was Axel that saw it first, and he kind of nudged Balls to like look at it, and then they had 1,000 questions, like, "What the fuck do you have this hanging up for? Were you there? And I was like, "Oh no, guys, I'm just a fan." Like, well, then why the fuck you're just being a fucking mark? Like, they ripped me to shreds about that, and but that was all the time though, And look at locker rooms, dude. Again, back then it wasn't uncommon to have beer and whatever else is in the locker room, right? But now, like, these guys are looking at comic books, talking about I mean, they can mark out together in the locker room, and nobody gives them heat for it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's some good and it's some bad.
For sure.
It's like because it's definitely like the barricade opened up and they put a lot of the fans who didn't belong in the business in the business. A lot of like it's funny that there's a company called All Elite, and it's like your company isn't elite. I mean, the word elite is supposed to be the name of your group, so you named the whole company after your group,
Right.
and you're trying to pitch inclusion, and the name of the company is exclusion. I don't get that part at all.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yes, I hear the word elite and I think like corporate stooges.
Yeah.
I don't think professional athletes.
You're right. Yep, I'm right there with you. You're absolutely right.
Well, thank you. So you're going to not do any more matches. You're done skis now.
Yeah,
Or just a one time.
it was a one time, and so you got to understand. Like, I got out in 2007, and I hadn't, and I did it the way I did it. I probably shouldn't have done it like this, but we were always taught that quitting something that's like if something's bad for you, you should quit doing it. Like I should quit smoking or I should quit this and that, and that's how like wrestling was. I was on the road a lot. I was probably working, on average between 2 to 4 shots a week. And so that's a lot. And I was burning out and my wife was pregnant and I tore my shoulder to shreds and I had to have shoulder surgery. And I actually got the surgery and came back and hurt it again and like almost lost the use of my arm. So here I am at kind of the end of my career. That whole last year I was miserable because I knew I was done. And I was just kind of working toward a means to an end. And so I left in 2007 and I thought, I'm never going to wrestle again. I don't want to be like a Ric Flair, I come back 16 times or whatever it is. And so I distanced myself. I stopped watching it. I stopped associating with anybody that was involved with it. And, it hurt. My buddies that I've reconciled with since, they've told me that it felt like a divorce, like I divorced them, and that kind of hurt to hear that. And so you fast forward, like life happens, right? And 18 years goes by and here's an opportunity for me to do like one return match at, every year they have this really big event at the end of each year in the Twin Cities here, and they'll draw like 1,500, and around here that's the biggest houses you're going to get. And so
that's a really big like
yeah, no, it's a good house. Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah,
I mean like that. I mean, some shows are lucky to draw 200 people.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. And so I worked with the promoter, when I was actively wrestling back in the day, and I pitched him this long angle about this return, and they loved it. And so we just moved toward it, and I did the return match, and it's kind of funny how things happen. Like as the return match stuff started to happen, there was an opportunity for them to film a documentary about my return. The documentary fell through. It was all based on Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter didn't fund, and that was like a kick in the balls, which is kind of a weird spot to be in as you're trying to do this comeback. And then another opportunity fell in my lap where it was like my hometown in southern Minnesota. There was an opportunity for me to run a couple of wrestling shows at a venue I used to run way back when. And so, yeah, I did my match, and 3 weeks later I ran a show for the first time in forever. And then I'll run one more here in June. And then I'm kind of done doing that too. So, but yeah, it was great because I got to reconcile with a lot of people, and I got to just meet some new fans, get some new friends out of the deal and meet some new fans, and just get reacclimated to the way the wrestling business has changed over the last 2 decades. So it's been good. It's been good.
Cool. That's very cool. Like, so were you like missing it at any points during this time when you kind of broke up with wrestling?
Yeah, I missed it more than I probably let on because, wrestling was part of my identity since I was a kid. It was all I ever wanted to do, all I ever wanted to be. There was never a plan B. I was all in pro wrestling. So I started doing it when I was 16. And and my parents were super supportive of it. And so, like, again, I was always Mike the wrestler. And then all of a sudden I wasn't, and I pretended everything was okay. But looking back on it now, I know that like I abused alcohol pretty heavily because of it. I put on a lot of weight. I wasn't really sure who I was, but I didn't know that at the time. This is like reflective, looking. And back then, man, it was just, I just wanted to stay away from it. So I didn't go back because I knew I'd want to stay actively wrestling.
Such a mark for it. Like,
yeah.
It's the exact thinking that I have sometimes. So when I think about the stupid things that I've done, I'm trying to turn this into a stage bit, but I haven't mastered the wording. But I want to talk about how I loved this so much, and it didn't love me back for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, even still, it might not. It still might. It might not even care about me in any way. But like when I think about it, and I go, in 2008, I wrestled on an elementary school ballpark field in front of 25 kids and took an unprotected chair shot to the head and got paid in 2 boxes of pizza. That was my payment. And I was like, it's fun. I got 2 boxes of pizza. I thought I was only going to get 1.
You're rich, dude.
I was like, well, family's down the shore, so no one's here to cook. Pizza.
I get it. But also like that was just the way it was. You were gonna get experience by working on shows. At least not in our area, there weren't a ton of camps you could go to and just work out. It was like you're gonna learn on the job. And if you make a little money, great. If not, and I became very quickly a master of selling merch. I had to learn that process because we weren't getting paid shit. That if I got paid $50 on a show, that was like I was rich. I was rich. That's
hard to come by even now.
Yeah.
Even now, like the amount of like everything costing more number has gone up, but the number of how much people pay you not gone up at all.
That's true. That is true. So it's wrestling can be wrestling will take a lot from you and give very little back in return. But most wrestlers are okay with that. It's just it's part of our disease.
I definitely want to mention how I said it feels like wrestling doesn't love me back. I don't really feel that in my heart. I feel like everything I am is due to the life experience that I got through pro wrestling. So I don't feel unloved by wrestling. I appreciate wrestling, and I realize that wrestling appreciates me as well. I just, physically, maybe physically, wrestling hasn't been my biggest fan.
Yeah,
I've been incredibly lucky that in these 25 plus years that I haven't gotten hurt too bad. I never had any major injuries. I never broke any bone. I mean, like minor things, not like major things. Like I broke my ribs a couple times. Like I broke my nose a couple of times. I broke some fingers. That's it. Like I never like blew a knee out or anything. Knock on wood, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
I never did anything major like that. No shoulder injuries. Like I'm sorry you had one of those, not me.
Yeah, you're lucky in that way too. I'm envious of that. My shoulder, I don't concussions, broken ribs, broken nose, broken fingers, all of that. I didn't lose any teeth or anything like that, but I'm scarred up. I did a couple of barbed wire matches, and you lost some teeth.
No, I lost no teeth. My teeth are all.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, you got them all. Oh, sorry. There you are. But yeah, man, like
just a big old mustache gets in the way.
Big old mustache. But yeah, the shoulder thing was a bummer because that was just it was just an accident in the ring how it happened too, and it just one of them things. And ironically, it was on a show that had 0 people in the audience. They were filming them for High Spots TV, and it never even aired. And so, yeah, no, it's terrible. It's terrible, terrible. It's like the worst. If it happened at WrestleMania, that's fine. But if it happens in a crowd full of 0 people in bumfuck North Carolina, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Well, I did a handful of shows in bumfuck North Carolina, that exact town. I can't believe it.
Yeah. It's a cool town. It's all right.
There's a lot of homeless people having sex with each other. It's really weird.
They got some cool gas stations and a laundromat, just the basics.
Yeah, did you know Aaron Gainey?
No.
Nigerian Nightmares. He was a great friend of mine. He also did stuff with the clowns in that era. So he was going back, and I was thinking about this, so I'm just kind of swinging back so that we can kind of pin that. But he mentioned that like the clowns treated Trent like we treated Trent, where they were like, hide your shit around, like that. It kind of went a little bit like that in that era when people were like, Dirty Verdi, like he's up to shit, and it wound up being that way. And this goes back to, you probably read Results, you probably seen this name around, but the same with Billy Reel. It was the same exact stuff. I don't know. Did you know Billy?
I did not.
No. Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. We had a kind of close relationship here and there. Like it went in and out whenever he wasn't disappeared because he was on some stuff.
Mm.
But
yeah,
yes.
the Trent one. There was an instance. I think in that whole time that I was with him, and I'm not talking ill about him. He treated me very well, and we had a lot of like.
Oh, I'm talking ill about him. Yeah.
Well, that's fine. You can.
Come at me, boy. Come at me.
He was, every night. So we would get done with these shows, and we're on this bus, right? And so that whole time I was there, I don't think he changed his clothes one time. And Trent's, but I also knew something wasn't on the up and up. And there was a night that I don't remember what city we were in, but the bus would leave the venue and it would go to a motel and it would park outside, and then we would all take turns going inside to use the shower and get cleaned up, and then we'd get back on the bus and they'd hit the road. Well, like Necro and somebody else had gotten a couple of girls in the room, and Trent was inside with a different girl. And so anyway, I'm back on the bus and we're just like, relaxing and putting a couple of beers down, whatever it is. And the clowns were like, hey, Gator, go in there and go get those guys and tell them we need to hit the road. And I was like, okay. The rest of us had already gone in and showered. We were just kind of waiting around. So I walk in, and Necro is on one bed with a girl, and some other dude, I think it was Necro's friend, was on the other bed, and they're just banging these chicks, man. And I just walked in and I said, where's Trent at? And they like point to the bathroom. And so I walk over to the bathroom and I open the door, and the girl that he was with, she was passed out in the bathtub. And Trent was curled up in a little ball underneath the sink. And so I picked up Trent like a baby, and I just like carried him out, and he was passed out, right? And I just like took him out to the bus and put him in his bunk and like made sure he was breathing. And I don't know what happened to the girl, but the other guys just kind of like finished up what they were doing and came back onto the bus. But it was, I was a fan, and I didn't know him very well, and to see that kind of condition, it was just, it was bad. It was bad. And so like when he passed away, it's as unfortunate as it can be. I saw it coming,
Mm-hmm. It's such a strange thing. And I was joking when I said I was speaking ill of him. I'm for sure not. You can very much tell that I love him. And this one guy that we had on the podcast, I had him on the podcast. His name was Artie. And on the podcast, he said that when he dies, he's going to come visit me. And he's now been dead for probably a year or so. and I always go like, "You said you were gonna come visit me, and you fucking didn't." And like when I like talking trash, because he's a close friend of Alyssa, my soon to be wife, and whenever he comes up in conversation, I start talking trash, and I'm like, I'm challenging him because he said.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm doing that with all my dead friends now.
There you
so
go.
with Trent and with Billy, I'm like, yeah, I dare ya. I freaking dare ya. Well, I said this right after Billy's passing. I said, I'm not sad at all. I'm not sad one bit. I for sure I'll miss the guy, but I'm happy that he's outside of his misery. His life was misery, and he's moved on to whatever the next part of it is. So, I feel that same way. I'll talk trash. I'll talk trash all day.
Good.
He like the week before he died, he had his leg amputated,
Oh,
and I went and visited him at the hospital, and I said, "This is your wake up call, Bill. Time to get off the drugs, man. You're on your last leg."
oh, yep. Love that.
So yeah, he's like, "You're coming at me this early?"
Yeah, right.
Because he was already talking about like dating again and like getting back in the ring, and I'm like, "You're on that really too early, so I might as well pick on you too early."
Yeah, yep, exactly.
Did you ever have any? Did you ever have any factory experience with Monster Factory guys?
I'd have to think about that now. Unless I think did Corey Graves come out of there when he was wrestling Sterling James Keenan? No.
No.
Then no.
He was just a Pittsburgh guy.
Pittsburgh guy. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's really funny because they just had him on. He just interviewed CM Punk for the build to WrestleMania, and a lot of the build in that match is like Punk's like, I'm not some nepo kid, like Roman's a nepo kid, and Randy and Cody are all like nepo babies in the wrestling business. And he was saying like, "Oh, I know you're like me," and he was saying to Corey Graves, "You're not some nepo." I'm like, his dad was a promoter. His dad was he was a nepo kid. I remember I worked for his dad back in the day.
Yeah, the really funny part too is that he was such a huge Punk fan. Like he was like monitoring himself after Punk during that time.
Yeah. I thought he was. Yeah, it looked like he was just a ripoff of Punk.
Yeah, that's what I always thought it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that guy could pull some tail though, dude. We went into a strip club one time, and the women just would flock to him. And I come in looking like I just got off the out of the cornfield from harvesting, and here come these girls, man, and they are just all about him. And he had the long hair back then, and the tattoos hanging out, and he played. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I was on a couple shows with the guy. He's very smell my own farts and really enjoy it kind of guy.
That's fair. Yeah.
And I don't know if I ever liked the smell of anybody's farts that much.
Yeah, that's now that you say that, I can't think of one. Not one.
Right. Is it? I think that might have been around the era, because like when I was getting trained, how important being humble was.
Yeah.
Humility was always drilled into your head about like, remain humble. Don't be a mark for yourself. That was like one of the major etiquette lessons. Stay humble. Don't be a mark for yourself.
Ears
Stay
open,
humble,
mouth shut.
Yeah. Ears open, mouth shut. And it seemed like came a wave of like, oh, you don't have to be humble because humble people don't grow social media presence, and social media presence is more important than skill inside the ring. Is more important than being respected in the locker room. Like you're respected in the locker room if you have more followers on Instagram than if you like are somebody that people request to work with and want to work with. Like I I've always said, all these years, say, ask around about me to whoever you respect in the wrestling business. If any of them have a problem with me, it's because they're the type of person who has a problem with everybody.
That's
But
probably true. Yeah.
it's really about like the your presentation, not just of what you do in front of the people, but what you do when you're in a position of like leadership.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting that some of that now will be measured by vanity metrics, like how many followers you have, and even though as a promoter now as well, I do look at some of these guys when I go to book them, like how many people do follow them? Because that's what I've worked, my professional career the last 15 years have been in corporate sales and marketing. So they're very specific. I'll give you an example. You go to anybody's Instagram, they're only going to look at the first 6, but they're going to get an idea of who you are and what you do in the first 3 to 5 seconds. They look at your profile picture, bio, how many followers, first 6 photos. That is it. That's all you have. And you got a very small window to capture it. So, I mean, I understand that because I'm looking at guys like, okay, how much advertising are you going to be able to do for me through social media if I put you on my show? That's not the metric, but it's a metric,
Right.
and that does have some weight.
Yeah, right. So it's like it's a real conundrum of like you look the part, you walk the walk, talk the talk kind of thing, and it's like, yeah, you got a crazy amount of followers, but like, do you know the basics? Do you know?
Right.
Do you know what a tackle drop down is? Do you know what a one tackle take it again is?
Yeah, I would, again, just having this conversation on a different podcast very recently, and there are these little pet peeves that I see where I'll look at like there's a couple of guys that would be considered like top guys in Minnesota, right? And there's like 1 or 2 of them that they're good, but there's little things that throw me off. And here's the example: when you give an arm drag, you roll back the other way and then get up, right? Think about it. Arm drag, and you're rolling away from
Bro,
them.
I've had this conversation 1 zillion times, and it's so fun because I could bring this up with 100 people, and nobody would know what the hell I'm talking about. But this little thing has always been a thing that I notice because some people stand up,
Straight up.
some
Yep.
people stand straight up, and some people do the roll the other way. I was taught stand straight up. It's depending on what you're taught. So I was taught that way, and then I was retaught the other way later on. I got retaught by deranged at the Ring of Honor school. So I was doing it this way and stand up, but then he was like, it's a little too clunky. This is neater. Do it this way. So it just takes being willing and able to listen to somebody. What they call coachable.
Yep, you're right. You're absolutely right. But it's just some stuff like that where it's like, man, what happened with some of that? Because it's some of the training's regional. I do understand that, but these guys are all getting trained mostly by the same people, and which leads me to believe that there's some schools that we could probably go schools that are just like cash grabs for some random indie workers who really don't know what the fuck they're doing anyway.
Can I ask you, this has gone right into very niche specific territory right now. Like people listening will be like, this is too insider for me. I don't get it. But when you tackle, do you continue to run straight or do you turn to your right?
It's turned to the right.
Yes. That's what but like even when I watched WWF back then, like people would tackle, continue to run straight. So I don't think either way is absolutely right or wrong.
No,
but it's just the way you learned it. And
Yep.
the one of the pet peeves that I have is when somebody does a tackle and then they go to the right, but they fall backwards. Like running backwards is a huge pet peeve of mine. Another thing that's a huge pet peeve of mine that is so specific that like no one else would even notice it in a million years. When somebody puts somebody up on the top rope like they're going to set them up for a superplex and they don't drape the legs, then you're telegraphing what's happening next. So if you don't drape the legs and then you go to the top, it's pretty much known that you're not going to give them a superplex. It's pretty much known that you're setting it up so that you're about to take the fall. It's like there's certain things where it's like if I was a fan trying to make logic out of what I'm watching right here, my logic would be like, why didn't he drape the legs if he was going to go for a superplex? Anybody watching should be thinking that same thought.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yep, very much so. There's a lot of like trying to think of stuff they said that Vince used to hate. It was like the slappy punches and that kind of stuff. You know, where like they're slapping their leg and hitting with the other arm.
Yeah.
Like that stuff.
The Rock used to do that pretty good though.
He did. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, there's just all these like little nuances and stuff I watch from time to time, and I don't see a lot of the bad ticks happening necessarily when I watch anything.
What about when somebody's holding a headlock and they get thrown to the ropes? Do you let go and hold the rope, or do you keep holding the headlock?
It depends on how close I was to the rope. If it was like, if we were dead center of the ring and he's going to push me back, I do grab the rope. But if we're right next to it, I don't need to.
I've never, ever
Never
let go of the headlock. No, because if I let go of the headlock, what's stopping him from pulling right out?
True, but the other side of it was always like ring safety. So like that rope could just snap for no reason, and that was like instilling us. And now looking back on it, maybe it was because whoever was training me at the time was like they had one bad experience and were able to say this is the way it happens now.
It's all kind of depending on like the source of where that came from.
Yep.
I mean, I've never been afraid. I've watched ropes snap, and I've been in rings where I've broken a rope, but never running at it full force. Mm-hmm. It'll be like the middle rope snaps when I step on the buckle to do the yay-boo or something. But never like running at it full force and then it snaps. But if I'm letting go of a headlock, it feels like psychology-wise, if I'm watching it and I'm a fan, I'm like, why did the guy just not slip out?
Yeah, I mean it's valid.
Salad, Caesar salad.
You got it. Let's start talking in Carney. We want to get real niche. We'll just do the rest of the podcast in Carney.
Yeah. It's so funny how like in regular life every day we could have these conversations with anyone and they would just look right through us. We don't know what you're talking about. It's really cool. It's really cool to have somebody that I can talk to that kind of gets the bones of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, for jumping from pro wrestling to coaching to speaking, what was the transition like, and what was the motivation behind it, and what was the angle that you took in that? Like, what was your gimmick, brother?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that happened is that I had an opportunity when I was working for UPS, and I was a sales rep there for a while, and I don't remember the job I had at the specific time, but I was an office employee, right? And the UPS had a relationship with the TED organization. So if you've ever seen a TED Talk, that's the TED organization I'm talking about. And what happened is they were running these large events this would have been the third year in a row they were running it, third or fourth year. And they would solicit all 500,000 UPS employees worldwide, and they would look for ideas to have a TED Talk on. Well, the year previous to the one I applied for, there was a woman who, and part of the deal was whatever it was you spoke on, you had to be an expert in it. And so if I was going to do a TED Talk on changing the oil of my car, it would be impossible to do because I don't know how to fucking do it. So, but I do know pro wrestling. And there was a woman who was a UPS employee, and the year before, she had done her TED Talk on life lessons learned from watching soap operas. And she had come before her UPS career. She was a writer on some soap operas. And so she did it. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Maybe I could do life lessons learned from watching professional wrestling because there's a lot of parallels between the two. And so I submitted the idea early 2017. And then I forgot about it. And honestly, I didn't even really know what TED Talks were. I was just trying to get promoted, and I was trying to get my name out there as much as possible internally and just like focus on my career. And about 6 weeks after that, and again, I'd completely forgotten about it, the TED organization reached out to me and they wanted to have a conference call around this idea that I had. And I was like, okay. So I jumped on a call and they were asking me questions. And they asked me specifically, like, how are you an expert in professional wrestling? Like, how do you want to talk about this? And I was like, well, I used to do it, for about a decade and this and that. And then it started to evolve. It became like, tell us about how you developed your character and about what you learned through that. And then they assigned me to a speech and language coach out of New York City, right, who worked with a lot of Broadway actors. And it would be just like you and I are doing now, is I would write my entire TED Talk. I would recite it back to him and try to perform it via Zoom. And then he would give me feedback, and we would repeat that every couple of days. And I ended up doing 40 or so rewrites of my talk. And it was like, it was tough. And so we've got to the point where it was going to be TED Talk time. Well, the thing ended up going viral after I did it. I mean, it ended up being how I learned self-confidence through having been a professional wrestler. And the crazy part about that is I wasn't allowed to take any speaking engagements as long as I was employed at UPS because they essentially own my IP. And so I was bummed about that, but I would get requests. There would be like organizations reaching out to me directly saying, hey, we want you to come and speak at this thing. And then I would have to run it up the flagpole at UPS, and they would give me the yay or the nay. And I asked him, I said, well, how long is this in effect for? Like, if I want to take a booking, if I want to take some PTO and go to a booking that you don't approve, then what? And they said, we will fire you. You're not allowed to take any bookings unless we approve it first. Mm-hmm. So then I was like, okay, I kind of settled back in. I'm like, well, I value my career. I'm trying to put food on the table for my family. I can put the speaking thing on the rear view for a little while. And that was in 2019. By the time I kind of, worked a couple of loops on the speaking deal, and then like I was pretty much over it after about a year and a half of it. And then COVID happened, and nobody's doing speaking engagements. And during COVID, I lost my job and no longer worked for UPS, which meant that I owned the IP at that point, and I could do whatever I wanted with it. So I used my downtime to write. Yeah.
Excuse me, just 1 second. So you're saying you could IP freely?
That is true. Yes, and you can see me pee. That's what I would put on the. And so, so I used that downtime to write the book, which would be the extended version of the TED Talk. And as things kind of came out of COVID, I had a friend who had a brother-in-law who was a professional speaker. And he said, dude, you need to meet this guy. And I was like, yeah, speakers, they're all going to be the same. So I did. I met with him, and he was like, yeah, you can take this class to be a speaker, and it's like $1,500. And I was like, okay. I'm a worker. Like, stop trying to fucking work me. I don't need to pay some schmo. Like, I just always, I don't know about you, but I always feel like people are trying to fuck with me because of our background, right? Everybody's working you. And
right. Everything's work.
Everything.
Every single thing is work. Like, I still all the way truly believe that. Like, I don't think anything is a real thing.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't invest in it like mentally. I was just like, okay, I'll pay you. Well, there was another guy that I met who used to be in the UFC, who he just kind of like, kind of like lived his UFC career the way I lived my wrestling career. Like didn't, like made it there and then came right back down. And so he speaks a lot, and he was trying to tell me like, no, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that. Well, then there was an opportunity about a year and a half ago for me to take that class that I'd been putting off, and I thought, well, I'll just give it a whirl, and I'm gonna bet on myself and see how this thing goes. And started taking the class, learning. What's been valuable is like learning the speaking business, not necessarily how to speak. How to speak is fine. You either have the talent to do it or you don't. But it's the business behind it, how to get booked, how to get referrals, how to do the accounting, how to market yourself, all that stuff. So that's been the new journey that's really been going on with me specifically for the past 6 or 8 months.
Heck yes. That's awesome. Well, I think that hopefully one of the things that they'd approve of is you coming and being a guest on this podcast.
Yeah, that was the other thing, is I couldn't do anything like that back then. I couldn't do especially anything that was going to get me paid. If I was ever going to take a paid gig, and there was one booking that I remember being pissed about that I wanted to go to. It was like a grievance camp for small children where they all lost a friend or family member or whatever, and they were all at summer camp together and like coping. And they were going to bring me in to like, because part of my spiel is, I lost my dad when I was 19, and so I talk about that, and then how that was, and it was unexpected, right? And so talking about that with other people, and then you couple that with the fact that, like, I don't know, you've probably seen it yourself, where as a current or former worker, when kids find out that you were a wrestler, they gravitate toward you. Like they want to know more. Like all of a sudden you're their friend. And so especially when I speak at like middle schools, those kids really want to learn more about me. So it's easy for me to interact with them. And I was so bummed I couldn't take that booking. And that was kind of the beginning of the end for me when it came to speaking. I thought, if you're not going to let me do this one, fuck it, man.
So you were pissed about your IP?
I was.
Okay, that's fine.
At this age, I'll take anything I can get as long as it's free flowing.
Dude. we just went to New York City for our anniversary. And we stayed in a hotel, and Alyssa was taking video of the hotel. She was showing the hotel room, and I was in the bathroom pissing, and I was like, she showed me the video. I'm like, do you hear me pissing? That's an impressive stream. That's a really impressive stream.
Yeah, your prostate's pumping on all cylinders, pal.
It's like, I'm hydrated AF. That's going to be the comment section of that video if you ever post it.
Frothy, solid stream, Just a hint of yellow. I mean, this is good. This is a good place to be in.
I told you earlier, I'm really pursuing this being a streamer thing hard.
It's hard to do it hard.
So yeah, I'm also into doing a lot of speaking engagements with stand-up comedy, and it's a weird thing when I've done a couple, like I did a rehab called Self-Help, and I did a speaking engagement there, and I started talking about pro wrestling a little bit, and then I said, any questions at all, and all the hands go up and they go, where can we watch wrestling? Like I wound up answering questions about the history of the wrestling business because I happen to be around it and know it. So they're like, when did it become WWE and not WWF? Like, oh, okay. I don't. This isn't necessarily a question for me.
Yeah.
This is a question I can answer, but
you're
it's
the
not
subject matter expert. At that point,
right.
You are.
Right. So yeah, I was like, about 2001. There should definitely be a school for people who want to learn about wrestling and like the history of wrestling, to be able to learn like almost like a history class on pro wrestling.
That's actually super cool to think about because I've been doing seminars lately. I shouldn't say plural. I did a seminar where I kind of married my sales and marketing background with professional wrestling and just taught some indie guys just the fundamentals of, your brand is your business. Every business is run differently. Run your business how you need to run your business and explaining things to them. But when you're thinking about curriculum for those kinds of seminars, a history of the business, like that's pretty cool. I've got a buddy actually who wants to run like a convention, but a convention for the boys where you can take classes like that, or you bring in, I don't know, just whatever, Arn Anderson. You bring in Arn Anderson, he's going to do an in-ring seminar, or you can go learn from Cory. Cory's going to teach the history of wrestling, and Mike Kinney is going to teach the sales and marketing, and you have all these options,
Also, I do think Corey Graves stole my first name. I think honestly, I don't think that he probably thought of me when he heard that name out. Like when they were pitching names to him and they said Corey, he was like, "Oh, I know one guy, Cory Kastle. He's all right, I guess."
Yep. See, you were already over. You just
already over. Well, the funny thing was, my tag team partner, Matt Bomboy in TNE was the name of our tag team was Team New Era, and then we used to walk and wrestle shows all the time in Reading, and Adam Cole was on all those shows, and Matt would always grab Adam and he would be like, "Corey," and I'm, "Oh, you're not. No, oh, never mind." And then he would always act like he was accidentally talking to me.
Oh, sure.
And then dude did something where his thing was called The Era. And then Matt was like, "See, I told you he was trying to be you. I told you he was trying to be you." And then like the Bullet Club came out with their T-shirt design that was the exact design of the TNE shirt.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, like we did a spot with Luke Gallows where he joined TNE for one day. So he got a T-shirt, and then like months later, Bullet Club had a shirt that was exactly the skull and crossbones and stuff. It was, except for it was bullets or guns or something.
Yeah,
it was pretty much the same shirt, except for now it looked more bullety.
Interesting.
Yes, and we've gotten no residuals. We've gotten. I'm pissed about this IP.
You should be.
We got no recognition for.
I just watch you drink all that water. Of course, you're pissed.
Yeah, dude. I drink so mumuch water. I probably refill this thing twice a day.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. I just like to stay hydrated, brother.
I guess so.
Yeah. I'm a streamer professionally.
But not wet behind the ears. Just yeah.
Follow me on Twitch TV, twitch.tv/Cory Kastle. Do you do any impressions at all?
Oh boy. Well, I do a mean cowardly lion.
Oh,
Wizard
cool.
of Oz, yeah.
All right, hang on to that one. Don't ever lose it. That's a good one to have.
Okay.
Also, just a couple more quick things, and then I'll send you off into the sunset with a hot dog and a handshake.
Okay.
Okay, I like to have a lot of on-the-record conversations, and I make sure I mention that they're on-the-record conversations because I did mention to you earlier that I had a couple conversations with people on here who are no longer with us. You know what I mean? Friends that that we've said important things to each other on the record here, so I've had them later on to go back to and listen to. It's really cool to have. I like to look at this as if it's like a timestamp for now, what the record is now. It's an evolving process. Like we were talking about 2017 earlier. That was the year I started this podcast. So like the version of me from then to now, like you go track the 33-year-old version of me to the now 42-year-old version of me. It's like gonna be, it's gonna be cool to be able to listen back to this timestamp, this record, and have like this is the longest conversation that we've ever had, and it's going great, and now we're friends. So I want to make sure I say to you while we're on the record how cool that is to me and how awesome it is. I always talk about the currency of your time, effort, and attention. The fact that you've given me any of those things today have been so valuable to me, and I want to let you know if you're ever feeling any like loneliness, if you're feeling like you can't talk to anybody about anything and you just need some judgment-free conversation, please don't ever feel like you're alone. You can reach out to me anytime. And I'm looking forward to the future of our friendship and where it builds from this point.
I love that. Yeah, and you're going to definitely end up being a guest on my podcast as well in the late summer or early part of the fall. So I'm excited to get you on there.
Nice. I will be married by then.
Look at you, just
be-
making waves.
Constant evolving.
Yep.
Today is the official 2 months away from the wedding taking place.
Wow. Yeah. Have you been married before or no?
Nope.
So it's a new venture. Yeah, man.
Been married before. No kids, no marriage.
Okay. And it's cool, man, because like I'm at the opposite end of that like that life change. So like my daughter just turned 18 in December. She just had her senior prom last night. She'll be off to college this fall. My boys will be starting high school. And keep in mind, none of these people were alive when I was wrestling. So like that's how fucking fast time flies.
Were they at your one-off?
Yeah, they were, and a whole bunch of my friends and family were there, and my kids came into the ring with me. I got my buddy put me over, and then the kids came into the ring afterwards, and we did a whole like hugging, and it was a whole thing, man. It was awesome. But yeah, my wife and I, we've been together. I got to think, we met in 2005, or sorry, we met in 2000, and we got married in 2005. So whatever that public school math shakes out to be.
So it's 2026 now.
Yeah,
so that would say so
26 years.
2025 would be 2025 would be 20 years.
20 years.
And then 2026 would be 21 years.
That's right.
I think if I'm doing my math out loud correctly.
Yeah, we've been together a long time, man. A long time.
So about 26 years.
Yeah, anything over 10, you're just in the Marriage Hall of Fame, and you get to just like use whole numbers. We've been pretty much together forever. That's the whole number.
Alyssa and I just had our 5-year anniversary of when we started dating.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm marrying somebody I just met. You know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah, good for you.
It's really cool. I'm excited about it.
Congratulations.
And we met here on this podcast.
Wow, that's super cool.
So the first conversation we ever had was her being a guest on this podcast.
Is she a worker too?
No, she's a singer.
Oh, wow.
So we have a mutual friend. Her name is Dami. She's a psychic medium, and she was a guest on this podcast a bunch of times. And Dami said to me, "Hey, you should have my friend Alyssa on your podcast. She was just a guest on this Netflix show. It was a singing show called Sing On. You should have her as a guest on your podcast." And I was like, okay, cool. Like, it could be interesting. So I watched the episode, and we talked about setting up the podcast. We set it up, and that was the first conversation that we ever had. And then right after the episode was over, we just stayed on the Zoom like this. We just stayed on the StreamYard. And we talked for hours, and we were like, let's hang out. We live like 45 minutes away from each other. And then we've been together ever since.
And the rest is history, as they say.
Yes. So we're going to actually record another episode of the podcast today. Or soon.
Yeah.
Like we've been doing like little check-ins on like the process of getting married. It's been pretty cool. So the other thing I wanted to ask you was if you have anything you want to say to me on the record, or anything you'd like to know, anything you want to ask me on the record. Right now is your chance to ask me anything.
Oh boy, this is new. I'm asking you. So let's see. If you had the opportunity to tell somebody, if you were able to give them a tool, and they were struggling right now, my podcast is a lot about self-confidence and how to rebuild that after setbacks. So you think about any setback that you've ever had in the duration of your lifetime. It could be your wrestling career, it could be your personal life. You think about that setback, think about how you mastered your way through it and what lesson you learned or tool that you utilized to make that happen. You're reflecting on that in this moment. What is that thing that piece of advice you would give me, you would give to your listeners, you would give to my listeners? What is that thing they need to know?
A thing that I always use, a tool that I always use, is thinking about and picturing the feelings I'll have when I have the thing that I want. Like, I would say, like, all right, 2011, right? Let's go back to 2011. I had a grand mal seizure while I was taking a shower, and I busted my head on the toilet. I broke the toilet, and it turns out that there was like a malformed veins in my brain that happened in utero. So it had nothing to do with any of the concussions. It had nothing to do with any of the bumps. It was all just some freak thing that it was a time bomb that you could have went off any time. But my brain was bleeding into the front of my skull, and that caused me to have a grand mal seizure, and I had to step away from the wrestling business for about 13 months. But the thing was, nobody told me I could go back. I just had to keep telling myself I would go back. And I kept referring to myself as a new standard, because no one else was a survivor of something like this.
Right.
So I'm going to be, when I get back, I'm going to be a different version of a wrestler than anybody else. Because, like, I'm also, in part of that new standard is I'm not going to work for pizzas. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? I'm not going to,
Yeah.
There's going to be a different set of rules for me on what I'll accept and what I won't.
Right.
So, like, changing the negotiations. Let me give this other example. I can't even remember what year it was, but there was this man who offered to pay me and my roommate to help him move to Los Angeles. Like, so just to drive from Philly to LA, drive a U-Haul truck from Philly to LA. And he was like, you guys help us move, and you can, like, stay with us for a while too. Like, just kind of make a home for yourself, see what you like out here. Because I've been for a long time going like, oh, I need a change of scenery. Like, my life's been too the same for too long. And I remember I kept saying, I'm not thinking about the getting there. I'm thinking about the being there. And me saying that out loud, I haven't stopped going back to that thought and saying that out loud. The how isn't as important as the result. That was
a couple
kind
of
of
notes. I love that. I'm not thinking about getting there. I'm thinking about being there.
Right. Yeah.
I love it.
Anything else?
No, that's solid. And that'll actually help me with a little segue into my show when you show up for that one.
So, another thing I like to do is I have a segment that we call audio time travel, right? So being as this recording is going to live forever, ideally, the people who are listening to this now, our right now is different than their right now. So let's say they stumble across this in 20 years. Your kids find this recording in 20 years and kind of, let's say they're going to treat it like it's a time capsule in this 2026 version of Dad. The words that they're hearing next are from now a message to them then. What are you saying to them?
I'm saying to them, it's what I've been saying to a lot of people and trying to experience it to make sure that it's true. Because even though I've been saying it, sometimes it's tough to remember that it is true, but it actually is. Is that I've pretty much got a PhD in self-confidence, and not to say that I am this all-confident person, but I know what it takes to pull your confidence across the finish line with you, and how to build it from the beginning. And what a lot of people do is they wait to feel confident before they do something. They put something off. It's just not the right time, or I heard that a lot, especially having kids. Oh, well, we'll have kids when the time is right. And there's never a right time to do any of this stuff, right? And so if you're going to constantly wait around to feel ready, to feel confident, then you're going to be waiting a very long time. What I have seen and experienced with my own two eyes is that confidence is rebuilt through repetition. You have to start doing the thing. Whatever the thing is, you have to start doing it. And if you're going to fail at it initially, fail quickly, learn from it, move on, keep going, because it's going to take you, whatever that thing is. Maybe it's going to take you 13 to 30 tries to get it right, but you'll get it right. And once you do, you're at a new level, and you keep going. And that's your new pattern. Repetition creates self-confidence, not the other way around. There it is. There's your sound bite.
I had about 10 years ago. I went to school for executive protection. So I went to bodyguard school about 10 years ago, and the teacher said this thing, and it's actually like taught in a lot of military training. But he called this an OODA loop. Have you ever heard of the OODA loop?
No.
It's a training about you. OODA stands for observe, orient, decide, act, and you tighten the amount of time it takes for you to observe, orient, decide, act, and loop it around. So like that repetition you were talking about is like the experience of like, oh, I'm observing this, and now I'm orienting myself to the situation. I'm deciding, and then I'm acting. Not like I'm deciding and then I'm going, because there would have been so many things I would have never done had I not gone, I'm doing that, and then did it. Like, I'm super selective about announcing anything. I'm not somebody who will tell people that I'm going to do things. I will do the things and let them see that I'm doing them instead of advertising that I'm doing a thing. I'm not going to come out and tell you that I'm funny and smart. I'm going to talk, and you'll see if I'm funny or smart. If we're having a conversation and I told you 10 minutes ago that I was funny and smart, and in those 10 minutes I haven't said anything funny or smart, you'd be like, this guy isn't funny, he's not smart, and he's a liar.
Yeah, or not self-aware, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I've accidentally re-said that recently, where I've said fart or smoney. So, last thing. The way we wrap up every show is we have the guest, in their best impression, say the closing line, which is, be fun, have safe, keep evolving. So, as the Cowardly Lion, be fun, have safe, keep evolving.
Be fun. Oh, I'm sorry, dude. I got to write this down. Do it again.
Can you also sing the song that he sings?
If I were king of the forest. Oh, dude, I get this motherfucker down. Don't make me whip it all out. All right,
Be fun, have
tell me,
safe.
be fun,
Be fun, have safe.
have safe. Be fun, have safe. That's all you want me to say?
Keep evolving.
Be fun, have safe, keep evolving.
Now people are going to think the show just ended 100 times because that's what, that's the end. What that's the end. Oh well, I guess
Come
that's
on,
the
man.
end.
Come on. I've been concussed. I need to write stuff down, and then I'll be able to, be fine. All right, here we go. You ready? Let's see.
Yeah.
Take the glasses off for it. Be fun, have safe, keep evolving.
Perfect.
How do you do?
Thanks, Mike. Let's continue to collaborate in any way we possibly can. And bro, this has been awesome. Anybody, if this is your first time checking out Evolving, go back to the archives. There's about 375 other episodes of the show. Check those out. Like, follow, subscribe. Turn that notification bell on so that you're made aware when new episodes are up or new videos. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Be fun. Have safe. Keep evolving. Bye.